Check 1, 2. This is Jay Moore with the New Old Heads, and this is episode number 483. This week we had a discussion on is New York hip-hop bias actually cap? The Michael Jackson movie breaking records while dividing fans, Hit Boy being tricked and sued by a fellow producer, beat theft, and more. Support us and get the 2-hour uncut episode by becoming a $5 Patreon or YouTube member, and make sure you click the bell and turn on the notifications. See you in the comments.
You are now tuned in to the New Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7th. We got the family in the building. Starting off with my man Jay Moore. How are you, good sir?
You know, just getting how I live. You know the vibes.
I do indeed. My man Lonegevity. Hey, buddy.
Howdy. How's it going?
Going good, man.
Awesome.
Howdy back to you.
Thank you.
All right. My man DJ Jay Diff. What's happening, man?
Salutations.
Everything good your way?
Yes, sir.
See you with the t-shirt. You stunning right now. Very appropriate.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get into some music here. Start off with this first topic. So the question I pose is New York hip hop bias actually cap? That's my question. So hip hop started in New York, but as the culture went global, the tension between legacy and regional evolution has fueled constant debate about bias, New York bias. So Read My Soul, shout out to Read My Soul. He had a video where he kind of explains why New York bias really isn't a thing. He actually lived in New York, so he's got a pretty cool perspective. We can watch that and then got a couple questions.
Today we are going to talk about one of the biggest myths in hip hop, and that is New York bias. I believe New York bias is one of the lamest excuses or one of the lamest things you can put on somebody when they're offering critique to maybe a Southern rapper or to maybe a West Coast rapper or a Midwest rapper or anybody that's technically outside of New York. I don't believe it exists, and I think people that have never been to New York don't really understand New York and the average New Yorker.
I call you son because you sound like one. Wow.
The average New Yorker don't care where you from. The average New Yorker don't care if you fat, black, ugly as ever. However, I stay Coogee down to. They don't care about none of that. We don't care if Biggie had a slow out. We don't care if you from the UK, Slick Rick. We don't care nothing about that. Can you entertain us? Because if you've ever been to New York and you actually sat in New York City, there's a lot going on. So think about it. You go on to work, you sit down, you put some music on your head. Then it's somebody coming there. Hey, like showtime. Bad one. And then you get off the train and somebody singing, performing. Somebody might be doing some comedy. A bum might be coming through asking you for money. There's a lot of shit that's going on in just your day to get to fucking school, to get to work. You want to ignore most of that. But if somebody can cut through and entertain you and keep you interested for that moment of time that you going through this hustle and bustle, you gonna be somebody.
So is the New York bias in hip hop real? Or is this just a reaction to the city's historical dominance in shaping the culture? What do y'all think?
I don't really agree with Reed.
You don't?
Nah, he's the homie. But I feel like, and maybe it's not my place to speak on it because I'm not from New York from his perspective, but I feel like the conversation around New York bias isn't necessarily what he's actually defining it as. I don't know. Maybe being from the Midwest, we can see this bias because we're not Southern and we're not New York. But it's like it's usually like a certain era of person. No. Actually, now that I think about it, there was definitely East Coast bias in me when I was coming up because I thought the Southern shit was trash, and I thought the stuff that was New York wasn't trash, and it all was based around the content level, the content style, and how it was perceived. And also how the beats were, and I didn't deem them as good because they weren't sampled. This is a young me, right?
True.
I definitely had that quote unquote New York bias, even though I'm not from New York. I think New York bias means you have bias towards the sounds that comes out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I definitely see it. So, but maybe if you get down into the nuance, maybe it's a little bit different in what he's talking about in the definition of an actual New Yorker bias.
Yeah, I think I had a pretty heavy New York bias just because of my age, and at one point that's where all the hip hop came from.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody from New Jersey might have got popping. Shout out to Naughty, shout out to Redman, Queen Latifah. But you have to understand, at one point it was all New York music. And so when these other sounds from the West Coast came along, even as a kid, I was like, okay, this I like, even though it's different, but I still don't like it as much as this, because this is what I've been. This is an evolution of what I've been listening to since I really got into hip hop. You know, whatever, you know, like I said, everyone's kind of got their origin story as far as, you know, when they really got into hip hop. You know, of course, I like Run DMC and Houdini and everybody, but you know, what made me say, okay, hip hop, some way I'm gonna find a way to be a part of this, is when I heard LL Cool J's "I'm Bad." That's kind of where, you know, I jumped off, and then that's, you know, when it stopped being about, you know, robots and skateboards and whatnot, you know, it was all about hip hop. You know, I had to have the magazines and see what so and so was doing. You know, that's my jumping off point. So of course, anything that is too far away from that, at one point I had a kind of a side eye to. You know, at one point, like, I liked Hammer, but I felt like, all right, man, Hammer, you kind of jumped out the porch, you know, dissing the East Coast with, you know, with the beginning of the Pump It Up video. So it made me feel some kind of way, you know. And I think a lot of times the bias comes in from wherever your origin story starts. Like you said, like when you first started listening to hip hop, you know, it was a whole sample based thing.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, like,
now I think what kind of really is, let's just keep it real. When the Chronic came out, and if you were outside during that time, like, that was like a huge shift because of the musicality. And just because it was such a good record, it was almost undeniable. You could be as East Coast as you wanted to be, but when the Chronic came out, you know, you could have been somebody who didn't even like Eazy-E and NWA or DJ Quick, but when you heard the Chronic, it was over with.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel like there is a bias, or was a bias, but I feel like the bias kind of disappeared when it became less a regional sound. Now, a typical New Yorker is still going to feel like New York is where it's at and we got the best MCs. Even Marlon Craft himself says that I don't feel like an American, I feel like a New Yorker. He specifically separates the two. It's like New York is a different feeling. The way I came up is different. You know, my influences are different. I feel like everybody that embraces that New York energy feel the exact same way, even when it comes to music. Now, as a whole, people from the outside looking in, me personally, I never was biased as far as what I listened to, because I always listened to all of it. And I also got a hard time because I listened to East Coast rap when it was not as, you know what I'm saying, popular to do that here in the city, because a lot of people gravitated towards Southern sound and West Coast sound. But I always listened to everything. So I can say personally, I've never been biased. I kind of feel like a New Yorker themselves are more biased than anything as far as what they consider the real hip hop and shit that's supposed to be popping, but that's in the past because they don't dictate that anymore.
I think the bias for me was I'm with Lone on actually admitting to having it, but mine started to fall off as I started running into other groups.
Yeah.
So when I started getting into, I said, oh, Outkast, okay.
Sure.
And then Scarface, and then UGK, and like he said, the Chronic, and Doggy Style, and even NWA. Like when you start hearing some of that stuff, it's like, oh, okay, these guys, this is still good. It sounds different, but it's still good. But we've all, to what, I'm not gonna say we all, but I had my backpack East Coast phase where it was just like, it has to sound like this, and that's it.
Well, I can say I had a phase where a majority of what I was listening to was East Coast.
Yeah.
But Outkast has literally always been my favorite group since they first hit the scene.
I agree.
So I can't ever say that I've only been East Coast. And then when Snoop came out, Snoop was amazing. The whole Death Row movement to me kind of structured a sound that I was used to, which was that Midwest sound. They just took it and made it a little more funky.
You know what's crazy? No Limit, Cash Money. They eased in there, and I was like, oh, with the bounce and everything. I was like, okay.
Well, see, that I think that's a good point for me too. Is like, because I mean, I grew up as a casual hip hop rap listener too when I was young, right?
Yeah,
I'm younger than you guys. I'm 42. So, but like, it was going through high school and listening to No Limit stuff. I didn't like No Limit. I thought it was garbage. Like I
do remember that.
Like I just in general, like from a musical standpoint, it's like, well, this sounds like basic keyboard beats and stuff, and they're not really doing much, you know. And that was just from from the other stuff that I did like, which was more New York based, was more sample based, was more
when it was more regional,
but it was also more instrument based, and it was and me being like
musical guy
coming from a musical background, I was like, well, I can make that beat. It's like, and I suck, like I can, you know what I mean?
We used to have these conversations.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, so it's like, all right, it's not that good, whatever. But my clear point, like the clear thing that like turned it for me was like Respiration. And that record and Word on the Street and the Wu-Tang and stuff like that. So it was definitely New York and Midwest, because Common was on that record too, Respiration. And I don't know, it was very musical. And it wasn't until a little bit later that, I was able to kind of like appreciate Southern. I don't even necessarily, when I say East Coast bias, I'm more so, I mean, I know the bias does kind of go over to the West Coast. Obviously there's that.
Yeah.
But it was more so when I hear East Coast bias, I think immediately of the South. I think immediately of of looking at the South as less than the East Coast.
I would agree.
The West Coast kind of held their own for a very long time. Like there was no denying the stuff that you're talking about that came from the West Coast, regardless of what the East Coast said. But there was still like you could still kind of like hold the South down a little bit by saying they weren't as educated or smart or
think about the reactions.
Trying to put little brother in a headlock type of situation.
Think about how they looked at Drake.
Yeah,
like that. That is the epitome of what you're talking about. Yeah, they tried to play them.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to agree with that because I feel like I even kind of see it in myself. So
well, I think a lot of it, and this kind of gets lost in when we have these conversations, is when radio got deregulated, I want to say it's in 95, 96, by the Clinton administration, we lost a lot of what you'd consider to be regional sounds eventually. Like, some places held on, by playing certain artists. Like the Bay always kind of held their own, but there weren't these homogenized radio lists that came from some consultant, and these bean counters in an office somewhere that dictate, it was like, this is what's going to happen if you don't follow this. This is why in certain places they took away mix shows, because it gave the DJs too much leeway. At one point, if something, it could be the hottest record in Brooklyn and it would mean nothing to St. Louis or Indianapolis or Oakland or Los Angeles. But now it's because everything is so homogenized and everything is so researched within the inch of its life. You hear the same songs, and when you look at these playlists, there might be one or two songs that you're like, oh, okay, I've never heard that before. But by and large, what they're playing in Atlanta, what they're playing in Minneapolis, what they're playing in Brooklyn, and at Hot 97, and what they're playing, here or on the West Coast is by and large all the same music because they're owned by the same companies.
Yeah, when you talk about the radio in itself.
Yeah, I mean,
I can say, like, from my experience growing up in Indianapolis, Indiana, that the radio played certain music, but this was in a time where hip hop wasn't, as big as it is now, to where you would actually be hearing it on the radio. So a lot of influences actually just came from different neighborhoods, and maybe somebody went out to the West Coast or the East Coast, and now all of a sudden SIBO is big here, E40 is big here. You know what I'm saying? Too Short's big here. You got
Mr.
people
Big
that went down south and they pick up Last Mr. Big, A-Ball, MJG, Scarface, the Ghetto Boys. I feel like the regions at one point in time customized what they were influenced by, regardless of what the radio was playing. I feel like it still happens now. And the radio is a program. It's going to program the people that are paying or the people that are interested in getting in that facet of entertainment. But overall, I feel like what happened was people started chasing a popular sound. So it didn't matter if they are from the East Coast, West Coast, down south, whatever. Everybody was trying to tap into that same popular sound versus being unique and being themselves and letting people gravitate towards you that way. And that still happens to this day. Like, there's the kids listen to stuff that I've never heard of. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's just stuff that they pick up on from just being online and things of that nature. That's setting the stage for the next generation coming up. They're going to be like, well, we was into this and this and this, regardless of what was on the radio or what was popular. That's kind of where I think it, the divide is as far as what's popular and what's not, and what the radio plays versus what people decide to be into on their own.
I think an aspect is extremely underrated is the how, because the internet was not that, we didn't come up in that era where we could just Spotify stream or whatever.
Mhm.
I think word of mouth is what really helped
Absolutely.
turn this off, because my cousin had XYZ, or my boy, me and Terry was going to trade CDs in school. You got me, I got you, boom, we'll keep it a week, give it back. Loan CD book. I can go through there and see what was what. So that also opened my mind to get me out of what we're talking about with the bias. I think sometimes that part is, I don't want to say take it for granted, but push back, because that was the only way I got put on. People had to put me on to stuff, whether via trade or we just listening to it at the crib. But that's how I learned about a lot of stuff, to open up my mind and keep me out of what he's talking about.
And then video killed the radio star, essentially. People were being influenced by what they were seeing on TV. These videos and these artists weren't on the radio. A lot of people's favorite artists were not on the radio. They was going based off of what they seen on Rap City
or the box.
Basement,
the box was,
you know what I'm saying?
Real regional influence.
Yeah, they were going based off of those things. You know what I'm saying? Didn't have nothing to do with, oh, I heard it on the radio. It's more so what influenced them video wise. Now the internet is killing the video, so it doesn't matter what video you have. It matters whatever's being played on the internet or what people deem popular from there.
Facts. Good point. No, I think Reed. The one thing I will say, Lone, is I'm gonna give him peace, because when he talks about his route and how he kind of broke that down, I actually like that part, because I can't relate to that. So I see how he tries to tie it in. I'm gonna give him peace on that, because
I just think
it actually made sense the way he broke it down.
I just think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like I feel like he's legitimately talking about like an inherent bias that a New Yorker might have,
Right.
as opposed to like the bias of somebody who likes that style of music.
That's fair.
Or rides for that style of music super heavy, which we see it
All the time.
like the old heads, people older than Jay. Yeah, I'm talking about like the 53, 54-year-old, 55-year-old to 60-year-old hip hop heads.
They still caping for East Coast
Like,
hip hop.
Jay's like a younger Gen X person, right?
Yeah, whatever 49 is.
So 49. but you're still listening to there's like an age where it's like almost like the Pete Rock era
Yeah.
age. It's just like super.
And you hear it in their interviews.
Yeah.
You can hear it when they're asked about certain things.
You can.
It just this bias automatically comes out. It's like it's programmed.
That's why I say like we can't deny like we have video footage of this.
Facts.
Like it's
facts.
but
Well, no, I mean, it really is a thing where, like, I saw it was like Onyx and DMC, and it's a shot video in Queens, and I was like, okay, but I don't, this is for specifically people of that era.
Yeah.
Love them all. I don't want to see that shit. I'm sorry.
If you
I don't
played
wanna see
that
it.
for a 19-year-old kid, they'd be like, all right, shout out to, grandpa and his favorite rap songs. Like it really would be. But that's about a generational divide.
Sure.
No,
Like that doesn't represent to the 19-year-old his vibe in growing up in New York. I mean, the same thing when I enjoyed both Raekwon and Ghostface albums that came out this year. But I can understand why someone who's 20, 21 years old be like, I don't get this.
But this is why we have a unique perspective, because we were outside when Onyx came out. So it's not like we don't know about them. We know about them. We were outside enough to remember when Slam came out and all that type of stuff came out. But to
because
your point,
of the video,
exactly. But to your point about seeing it now, it's like I love y'all. If I saw DMC right now, I'd be like, yo, man,
I think another thing too here with Reed too is he, from one perspective, he's younger than us too. Like he's like 10 years younger than me. So he's like in his early 30s, I think.
We ain't that much older than you, man.
I know.
Oh, okay.
But I am younger than you guys.
You are.
You know what I
Technically,
mean?
yeah.
So,
Mike feeling a certain type
I ain't
of way.
mad. It's my brother. Love him. That's my guy.
but I guess, but even with that being said, like his definition of New York bias might be different from a different generation. Like, I don't know if like the generational like New York hip hop bias that I refer to is from older heads. I don't know what it looks like from a younger cat's perspective.
That's a good point.
Right.
I'll take that. Yeah, that's a good point.
it's probably not the same. You know, I doubt that like the Marlon Crafts of the world from Hell's Kitchen or the Dave Easts or I doubt that they have the same type of bias that like, I don't know, maybe
if that age
the beat
group
miners or something, you know.
If that age gap that you're talking about is accurate to as it relates to we're going to use Reed, then yes, it's different.
Yeah,
it's 100% different. So. Yeah, it's 100% different.
I still feel like though there are a certain core of artists from New York, young and old, that feel like they're better.
Sure.
Because they are New Yorkers.
That's fair.
I do feel like that. I think that part is true.
That still exists. I'm with Terry on that 100%.
That's a little bit of pride, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I'm okay with it.
But that's still a real thing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I agree with you on that.
In some ways, they're afforded that based on that's where it was discovered, that's where it's from. They kind of laid the bricks.
Yeah.
I understand that, especially if they're heavily influenced or have close proximity to those founding members, not even necessarily founding members, but people that carried the torch for, you know what I'm saying, the culture, so to speak.
Yeah. Africa Bambata.
No, not him.
Oh. Yeah. And look, man, shout out to Reed, man. Reed always does dope content, so salute to him.
You are now listening or watching the New Old Heads podcast. Our official 1-hour episode is released every Saturday at noon Eastern, where we share our exclusive uncut 2-hour episode to our YouTube members and Patreon members early every Wednesday. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Indie City and Vinyl, Decademics, and Bringing Down the Band. And most importantly, you. You can support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads, where we embrace the new, respect the old, and remain ahead.
So the Michael movie is breaking box office records, but the internet can't agree if it's a masterpiece or a sanitized cash grab. Short synopsis about what you felt about the video. About the movie, and then we can kind of pose a question and talk about where the divide comes in. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. So Jay, I'm coming to you first. Just give me a real quick, what you thought about the movie.
It was enjoyable to watch.
Okay.
If you are of a certain age where you actually were outside, you remember Thriller. And you remember how big of an impact it was where Michael was everywhere. It is a nice walk down memory lane. I thought it was a fun movie to watch. I think it was crafted well considering the constraints that they had upon them. It's kind of hard because I know what was some things were supposed to be in the movie, and I'm like, how did they skip that? And then there's also the technical part. This is the same way when I watched Straight Outta Compton, and I remember thinking, wait a minute, that version of the White Sox hat was not out in 1986 or 87. How could they miss that? And I felt that way in certain parts of this movie as well. But I enjoyed the performances so much, that I was able to look past some of those things.
Yeah, like them singing "Never Can Say Goodbye" before they had a record deal.
Yeah, that was a real. I was like, why would you make that decision? Yeah, especially for those of us who've seen the Jacksons and American Dream when they were clearly already they were stars when they put that out already. Yeah. Like I said, I enjoy them. If you're a fan of Michael Jackson, go see this. Let's go see it more than once.
Absolutely.
If you're not a fan of Michael Jackson, it doesn't really give you a certain level of insight into his greatness. And honestly, as someone who knows a lot about Michael Jackson, I was like, how could they leave that out? Even if you're just talking about the artistic part of his life. I know some people were like, well, I heard someone, this was one of the reviews where I didn't agree with the review, but it was kind of funny where they said, what if they made a movie about O.J. Simpson and it ended when he won the Heisman Trophy?
But see, that's one of those. With this particular movie, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10, and I'm kind of biased because I am a Michael fan,
right?
And based off of me being around and seeing some of those things happen in real time, reliving those situations and seeing how he came up with certain scenarios and songs and ideas, things of that nature, I thought it was very dope. But for those that haven't seen it, this is gonna be. What do they call it when you say something?
Words?
No, well, obviously. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
Close your ears.
Once the movie is over, it literally says his story continues.
Part 2.
So this goes to your first statement. Michael is breaking box office records, but the internet can't agree if it's a masterpiece or a sanitized cash grab. A lot of them are basing it off of not seeing enough of Michael in this movie. But it's like reading is fundamental. If you stayed and watched the whole movie, when it goes off, it says his story will be continued. And we've seen footage that has been shot that was not in this movie. Some of it based off of legal situation, like Jay said.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it happened after the last scene in that movie.
It stopped in 88, right?
Yeah, it stopped in 88, but I've seen images of him and stuff from like the Dangerous era from the same shooting. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we don't know how they're going to shoot or do this second movie because it's implied. Obviously, it's implied when it goes off. There may be some situations where it flashes back to certain, you know what I'm saying, times and comes back and things of that nature. It might be a part 3. Who knows?
I mean, because I've seen things where it's like, okay, someone was cast as Diana Ross.
Yeah, but that was on Diana Ross. So that whole
she
situation,
didn't sign off on that.
She didn't sign off on it. Janet didn't sign off on it. So she wasn't even cast.
Randy wasn't. So it's like, that's why you only see glimpses of LaToya.
Yeah. So
like,
you can't just blame it on, well, you ain't telling the whole story. There are legal reasons that the whole story wasn't told.
Why did they not sign off of it? Has this been made public knowledge?
Well, some of it was some lawsuits are going on with some certain, and you know, people love money, so they're gonna hold stuff up because they want a certain chunk of the change, or there might have been a spin or a conversation that particular individual didn't agree with. If people aren't coming to terms as far as how splits are going to be made, there might be a reason why, you know what I'm saying, as far as why all the brothers and sisters weren't included. There's a lot of things that kind of played a factor in it. I think that's it at the end of the day. Like when the miniseries came out years ago, the whole family was alive and everybody was a part of it. So that's the reason why they were able to do and show you certain things, because everybody, you know what I'm saying, green lit the project essentially.
Well, no, and I think, you know, because like I said, not only it was somebody cast as Diana Ross, like there was principal photography done for Michael Jackson being in The Wiz. And I'm like, that's part of the reason I was like, well, it just seemed like, oh, Mike and Quincy just was always hanging out, you know, and it was like, no, like that's a very integral part.
The connection is from Diana Ross. So you could even see that Mike met Quincy in Studio 54 because that's when he was hanging out with Diana Ross.
You know, but also there's some, well, we're not going to get into that.
But the thing is, though, like we talking about damn near 4 hours if we're going to put, that's how long his career spans. That's why I think the part 2 is going to have flashbacks to what we're talking about, because you can only squeeze so much into.
I've even seen like there were scenes shot with Michael and his mom, you know, going, you know, doing what witnesses do.
Going door to door,
going door to door.
Service.
Yeah, exactly. And that didn't make the movie. You know, so I mean, I think there's a larger story here to be told. I don't know if maybe that'll be saved for
director's cut or something.
Yeah, but it's like I said, Michael, this movie was supposed to come out more than a year ago. You know, and so they've been trying to maneuver and edit around all these things for a long time. And I think for all the problems they've had, I didn't expect it to be as enjoyable as it was.
Yeah.
Like I'll be honest, I didn't have really high expectations for this film. I thought it was just, I felt like it was going to be a Michael Jackson highlight reel. And the thing is, if I'm going to watch a Michael Jackson highlight reel, I can just watch Michael Jackson. But for this to be a film and try to tell a story, I think it did that a lot better than I was initially expecting.
Absolutely. I think Jafar did a absolute excellent job, because there was times in this movie where he looked like it was Michael Jackson on the screen. Like I couldn't tell the difference, like even like face wise. And granted, that could have been AI situation or whatnot, but I literally could not tell in some parts of that movie if it was him or not, you know. So
the performance parts on stage and all that, flawless, man. Because you talking about somebody that's hard to impersonate, or somebody you want to act like Michael Jackson. Everybody can't do that. The Thriller scene, all that to me was phenomenal. Like, young fella did his thing. The makeup, everything was elite, top tier. So I enjoyed it. I think y'all already said everything, but
yeah, Gobo, you want to add anything?
Yeah,
to
what
that?
you think, Gobo? Tell us about the movie, bro.
I loved it.
Oh my God.
That's such a Michael Jackson
why,
answer.
man?
You going to see it again?
I've already seen it 4 times.
What?
Wow.
It
Yeah.
ain't even been out a week.
he got the budget to see it 4 times, so he can pay for that.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
All right.
What you think,
4
man?
times?
4 times is crazy.
Okay, you got the early preview, right?
I
Yeah.
seen the early preview, so I did see that, which was last Wednesday.
Okay.
I seen that in IMAX. Now I do want to see it again in Dolby, just because I want to hear it different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking to the mic, young man, tell us what you think.
Yeah, tell us
So-
about the 4 times you experienced Michael.
Yeah,
I can't
Pause.
stop smiling, guys.
it's that good, huh?
So on Wednesday, I did the same thing that Terry did.
Yeah.
I went by myself, and then on that Friday, last Friday, I went with my mom, and then she wanted to see it again. So we went the next day on Saturday, and then I saw it today for the first time in IMAX.
Okay.
Damn, he
So,
wasn't playing around
wasn't
with
playing
his
at all.
support.
So do you have any overall thoughts, or did we cover everything? Just your initial.
You did. I
Yeah.
think you did.
Did we cover? it?
But yeah, I loved it. I mean, like, I whenever I saw it, as soon as I heard his voice, I just lost it. Just like,
You fainted?
no.
Okay.
But I think a lot of memories from my childhood came back to me, and
What?
it was just like
On YouTube?
Let him get
I'm
his
sorry.
piece
Go
out,
ahead, bro.
man.
Go ahead.
Gonna smack the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Guys.
Go ahead, bro.
Old memories.
Yeah.
There you
and,
go.
And like, be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
probably being very vulnerable right now. That's probably the first time in probably 5 or 6 years where I really just took the time to just like let it out, like emotionally.
No, for sure.
I'm
I
not
ain't
mad at that.
It was crazy.
I ain't mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, and this actually speaks to your initial, well, kind of, sort of, as far as Mike, if this is a masterpiece or if it's sanitized cash grab. We're talking to somebody that was not around when Michael Jackson came out. So when we talk about somebody's influence and importance in this music business being felt and meaning something and not just being numbers, this is what it's talking about. It's talking about it's exceeding the initial generation where it came out, where people that are coming up right now, somebody being born tomorrow, is going to know who Michael Jackson is based off of just his cultural importance in the music business. So anybody that thinks that they can touch a Michael Jackson level is
Sadly
crazy.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Sadly mistaken.
It's crazy.
So I've also, it's kind of been, the reaction has not been across the board like 100% where, oh my God, it's just the greatest thing. I do see a lot of people picking and choosing what they don't like about it and saying certain things weren't good and 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
You got to frame that too, because a lot of that was before the movie came out. So critics scored it low,
right,
versus when the people actually that wanted to see it scored it way higher than the critics did.
I think I've seen both. I saw what you were talking about, so you're actually correct. But I kind of paid attention to who's watched it. You know, it's only been out what's this?
Not even a week.
Not even a week, right? So it's just a small sample size, if you will. But I guess the question that I would pose, based off seeing, you know, some pushback on the movie, is: are online fans defending the film because of its quality or because of their emotional connection to Michael Jackson and his legacy?
Both.
Is
Yeah,
it both?
definitely.
I think there are people who are just so diehard as far as Michael is concerned. You're not going to be able to tell them anything, even if it is a valid criticism, maybe about the pacing, the storytelling, or the technical aspects of the movie.
Gotcha.
You know, but I think there are some people who just went to the movie to hate because they're not Michael Jackson fans.
Does
You
he
know.
have haters like that though? I don't feel like Michael Jackson has haters.
I
I think it's small, but I do believe that it is.
I think there are there are people who hate anything that's really popular.
And there's a lot of people that love Prince that don't like Michael Jackson.
I was never one of the people.
I mean, I like both, but
Yeah, I
I'm
don't-
just saying
I
that's a real thing, though. That's a real thing. I've seen it happen.
I've never really.
Yeah,
I've seen it happen.
I think that was more so on a personal level. Like Mike and Prince kind of had an issue with each other. I don't think people that actually listen to music care less. This wasn't a Kendrick Lamar Drake situation.
No, it wasn't that
where
big.
I'm picking Prince over Michael Jackson. They was literally rocking with both of these artists.
Yeah.
I just know there are certain. I've heard people say, "Nah, man, I'm Team Prince." I'm like,
I've
all right,
never-
well, that's your fault
I have
because you
never
missing
heard
out.
that.
I've heard that, but I say you missing out, bro. Like, all right,
I do know there are people that like Prince more than Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their own
Facts.
opinion.
but Jay, you
Um,
said it's both.
Yeah, it's definitely both.
Both
Yeah.
y'all, everybody says it's both.
There's definitely, there are people who are just going to defend this movie.
Yeah,
There are people who were defending the movie before they saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So that just is what it is.
I rated it 1,000 out of 10 in that interview that I had at the movie
1,000 out
theater
of 10 is crazy.
before I even watched it. So like, yeah, I'm one of them people that was going into this knowing that I was going to like it
No matter
based
what.
on my knowledge and my, fandom, so to speak, of
Sure.
Michael Jackson.
I mean, I was when we went to see it, I'm thinking to myself like, man, I remember this or I remember that. Granted, we were young, but it's like, nah, we were kind of outside for some of this stuff, and
You love being outside, don't
I
you?
got to be outside because you can't talk about it if you went outside.
I was inside when I was.
You know
just-
what I mean.
I know.
But either way, we lived it. We were there,
Yeah.
right? The jackets, the zippers, like I was so mad. My mama said I can't afford it. I'm sorry, you ain't getting one. Okay,
Sorry, man.
Well.
Everybody couldn't get one. I had the jacket. I had a doll.
dang, you just gonna
Or
crush my childhood like
I'll
that?
call it an action figure.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just call it that. But nah, man.
How rude was that? I said I couldn't get it. He was like, well, some people just can't get it. I had this, I had that, I had this. That's crazy,
sorry,
bro.
man. I mean,
It is what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
But like, I had to kind of watch this movie from the point of not grading it specifically, like you were saying, as far as certain things being out. That them doing that song before they was famous kind of ticked me off a little bit
I
because I'm
couldn't
like,
believe
there's
that.
no way they can do that.
I was like,
But
come
like,
on.
Yeah, even some of the jackets and clothes and things that he was wearing before he was supposed to be wearing it. Me as somebody that was there in real time, yeah, that's going to irk me. But somebody that doesn't really know,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter to them. So you kind of got to watch it like this is all new to me and just keep in the back of your mind. I mean, this is a documentary. This isn't a word for word documentary. This is a movie situation. It's like a book. If you read a book, you're going to get a whole lot more out of
Facts.
the book than you do out of the screenplay. So
And it's the producer ear thing that we talk about all the time, Lone. It's like, yeah, I know this is off, but I got to try to push that to the side so I can just enjoy, you know what I'm saying, what we actually watching. And I enjoyed it, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think they did a good job. And I'm curious. I can't wait to see, what the next angle is going to be in part 2. How'd you feel about it?
I'm sitting here thinking that, I'm happy for you guys. No, I mean
I'm
that.
gonna let you finish.
No, I mean
But-
that. No. I'm happy for you guys that you guys have something to where like Terry's talking about, like it takes him back, and he's like so enamored by by something that happened in the past that it takes you back to some place. I'm sitting here thinking like I don't have anything like that. I don't have a single thing to where it's like, oh man, I would be so excited to see something from the past or anything like that. I don't have anything like that.
There's nothing that you
Not a
attached to
sing-
like that?
Not a single thing.
Wow.
And so, so from one perspective, it's a little foreign to me, I guess.
No, it's
That's
fair.
fair. That's fair.
But it is cool to see you guys really enjoy the thing that you guys enjoy.
No, that's
So-
real.
Yeah, my wife is kind of the same because like
I'm sitting here
obviously
like,
we were
man, what kind of depression do I have over here?
because like she said she doesn't remember certain parts from when she was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So like that era is very vivid to me. Like I can remember it like it was yesterday. It's
Yeah.
like I remember the influence, or I remember playing like Thriller on the playground. Like I get to be Michael Jackson, y'all got to be the zombies, and everybody's fighting over who has to be the zombies and shit like that. But like
Actual fight, too.
yeah, I mean, it's one of them things where, I mean, it's kind of fortunate that we have that type of, memory connected to it.
You know what's crazy is like when
Good
we
point.
think about the album Thriller and how Michael Jackson kind of defined at that point music video.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, there's 9 songs on Thriller. I believe 7 were singles, but only 3 had videos.
Mhm.
Because now part of that was cut off because they had to start, promoting the Victory album that Michael didn't want to do. But he wasn't in any of those videos either. But it's just crazy how we think about we kind of
No,
tie.
it was 4. What was Say on?
Oh,
no,
good
that was
question.
Paul McCartney.
That was
the
Paul
the,
McCartney. That was before Thriller, or right
Yes,
at the same
it was
time.
Just
right
a
around.
feature.
Yeah, so there was like, you could say like in that era where there was a Michael Jackson video out, but that was on Paul McCartney's project.
That's right.
Man.
But like, and the thing is, they didn't want to do Thriller. So if you know the story behind that, like basically they had to cut a deal to to as far as like the making of Thriller, like they made their money back off of that video cassette. At one point, that was the most sold video cassette ever.
Yeah,
I
I'd
remember
love to have one of those right now.
man.
I remember watching that, at like some, like it was like spring break, and it was like something they did to, when we had to go somewhere, because if your parents worked, they had to put you somewhere, and I remember that kept everybody quiet.
Started with the "Can You Feel It" video.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there was this whole thing where at one point, just through that, the fact that there was a proliferation of people having VCRs, and at one point people might have had only 3 or 4 tapes, and one of those tapes was going to be the making of Thriller.
And what's
100%.
crazy is that VHS tape, the making of Thriller, probably came out a year after the video came out.
And it still went up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because this was the closest anybody had to, the hottest artists of that time on demand.
Yeah.
Because there was no such thing as having anything on demand at that time, but that was the closest we had, and so, I always, especially knowing what I know now, I was like, man, if imagine if they could have done the Thriller tour as opposed to it being the Victory tour.
Come on, man.
And,
Talk about numbers.
and
It would have looked a lot better too, because of the stuff that he was
Stage.
doing stage wise. Yeah.
and they were trying to be like, hey, all right, it's time for Jermaine to do his song, and it's like,
But even when you watch that tour, even when you watch the Victory tour, I would say 85% of it is Michael performing by himself.
Yeah, that's why
Jermaine had his solo set on there that he might have did like 3 songs.
yeah, and they didn't even. It's called the Victory tour. They didn't do anything off of the Victory album.
Nothing.
But
They
it
didn't
was-
even do Torture.
No, and they didn't. They didn't do my favorite song on that album, which was "Body."
Yeah.
but you see Joe in the movie was like, nah, Mike don't worry about it. Mike gonna be, he already knew what was up. He gonna be there. Don't worry about it. He gonna be there
I will say this though,
Okay.
as far
for the
as
family.
like people being upset about the whole story not being told. Now, once the whole story is being told, I seen this on the Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the guy was having a conversation about the allegations, and he made a very good point that on this second release, if there is a second movie, if they talk about the allegations, they have to talk about how wrong those allegations were, because he had it was like 14, 15 counts, and he wasn't found guilty on
They
none
were
of
all
them.
dismissed.
The FBI
Yeah.
and whoever else that have been looking into this have never found anything. So they have to be just as loud with the apology or saying that this didn't happen as they were when they were accusing him.
Did you
of
see
it.
one of the? I think it was TMZ that ran up on one of the accusers. He was like, "I ain't watching it," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, one of them in particular was the dude that was in Quo. His name was Wade Robertson.
Wade Robinson.
I think he ended up being a choreographer or something.
Yeah.
But like there was a point in time where he took, the stand, raised his right hand or right hand to the Bible, whatever, and said that nothing happened.
Yep.
As soon as
The money ran out.
As soon as the money ran out and Mike was gone, all of a sudden things happened. You know what I'm saying? So
That's why I don't mess with Oprah.
yeah, man.
Hey,
Mike was never found guilty of none of that shit.
He was like,
And
none.
he paid out. So there was a settlement that he paid out. The payout was cheaper than him taking it to court. I think that was the first one. After that, he was pretty much like, I'm not settling shit else no more.
Yeah.
Because this is Mike, man. He got hella money. He was gonna take it to court and just pay whatever, because they were saying that he was guilty for settling that first case versus I don't want to spend $20 million versus this, I can sell it outside
And
for
then-
like $6 million or whatever.
Yeah, and then like my whole life has to stop to go back and forth to court.
That
Yeah.
part.
He was on tour during that same time.
Yeah,
too.
that-
I think
but
it
that
was
was-
the Dangerous tour.
He had that bread though, so that wasn't a
was
problem.
actually because the tour that and it never came to the United States of America. It was that was Dangerous. Yeah. But it was just crazy how initially this is one of the reasons I wasn't super excited about the movies, because like if they were going to go, if the whole story was going to be told, I was like, we know this ends in a sad manner.
True.
And I was like, that's not why I want
You
to.
don't cry.
Yeah,
Don't cry in the car.
but
Part 2 probably gonna be.
I mean, if
A
they
lot of
really
some
go
tears
into
for
those
sure.
things, I mean, because there are always things they have to like. There were things they had to change. You know, they didn't. The Michael Rappaport's character was an amalgam.
Mm-hmm.
You
Why
know,
they have
of-
that mark ass?
I hate Michael Rappaport is a cornball. I hate him.
But he was, he was perfect for that role. I'll tell you what.
Was
But the thing is, there were when they talk about the people who was ripping New Edition off in that post Candy Girl part of their career when they got to MCA, like that was actually a full group of people who are still alive, and like they didn't use their names. They didn't use the actual production company name that was, when Mike says, well, what is this? That's not the actual name. If you go back and look at the New Edition record, that's not the name of the company. So they had to change some things around just for legal reasons. So they'll probably, if they do a second Michael again or whatever, there might be ways that they can get around these legal things, but they probably just didn't have the time, or maybe they just didn't want to go into it, or they haven't had a plan. But like
or they're smart and they just want to make another 200 million and just do another movie.
That could be it too, because
that's all I thought.
Because they're like, hey, we can get 4 more tickets out of Gobo.
Come on,
straight up. Or they might mess around, and people seeing how successful this movie is, the ones that were saying they didn't want to be a part of it, might be like, you know what?
Let me get some of this paper.
Go ahead and put me in it, and then they'll release an uncut version, still in the movie theater.
Yep.
And then you know what I'm saying? Who knows? But there's always footage on DVDs, and people don't really buy DVDs anymore. But like the uncut version, where you get a whole different version of what was actually in the theater.
Patreon.
Yeah,
there it is.
But you know what the thing is? Like when I looked at the box office numbers, you can't just look at the United States of America. Like this did huge numbers across the world.
Yeah.
And so that's what honestly movie studios are looking at now, just because we talked about how nobody buys DVDs. At one point, when people would buy VHS and DVDs, and going back to that time, it was almost like you were re-releasing the movie. So there are movies that, did better on cable and VHS than they ever. That's part of the reason why Robert Townsend is still out here and he can make moves, because if the Five Heartbeats would have died in the movie theater had there not been VHS and DVD, and I think it's probably coming out on Blu-ray soon enough. Like that movie got to be a success for the studio
absolutely
after it came out.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that were not successful in the theater and ended up being successful once you were able to actually buy it for your home. Yeah.
So the producer Hit Boy got tricked by a fellow producer. So there's a video of him talking about how he got ripped off about a sample library, something where it said royalty free, and he ended up having to lose all of his money. So let's watch this video and discuss.
On Anti, I got paid $45,000 per track that I did. So I had 90,000 that came in, right? I think the pre-save came out or something. Basically, once the thing comes out, it's a random producer. I think he produced on some other stuff that's popular. I think he produced on I Got the Keys. I don't even know his name, but he basically approached my attorneys and said that I stole his sound. I stole his music. But I got that pack out of the royalty-free kit from, I traded kits with Don Cannon. Basically, got into a place where half of that money, that $45,000, I had to give it to him. You know what I mean? And I had to give him most of the percentage on the song. So he tells me, you stole from me and da-da-da. And I just was like, what? I was like, bro, we could tap in and we can make more music. He like, nah, you stole my sound. I'm like, all right, bro. So I had to give him the $45,000 back. And I was just like, I was pretty confused about that. Just he big dog the situation,
Wow. I want to talk about the sample pack conversation. We've had that in terms of royalty free.
We had somebody on the show talk about Hit Boy stealing from him.
Right. But
in our past episode.
But I want to focus on the other producer.
Okay.
So did the producer who sued Hit Boy make a crucial mistake by not nurturing a working relationship with him? Why or why not? Because we're looking at $45,000 versus a potential working relationship with a top tier producer. That's what I want to talk about. What do y'all think?
Depending on where you are in life, you want the money.
Good point.
But second of all, if you genuinely feel like you've been stolen from, like, I don't know if it depends on how. I'm not in that nurturing place sometimes. I was like, I need to pay bills today. What you used from me, whether you know it or not, has created a certain level amount of money, and I need that money. And so
it could have been a situation where they came to an agreement that I'm going to give you this much money, and then versus you taking a percentage on all of this music that you so-called claim I stole, we worked together on some stuff. But in the same token, is him saying or reaching out to this producer that he got this sample pack from, so-called, saying that let's work together, is that an admission of guilt? It's kind of where I'm at with it, because like I understand getting a beat or a beat pack with drums and things of that nature, which are already programmed, and you're just chopping them up how you see fit. But the way that he's saying versus giving him that $45,000 and a percentage off of whatever songs that he's claimed that he used, let's just work together on some shit. To me, that kind of sounds funny.
What you think, Lo?
Yeah, to answer your first question, I think it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there is a scenario to where like the producer reaches back and says, "Oh, my bad. Let me give you a percentage because this is yours, or let me pay you for this because this is yours, and then let's also do some stuff."
Yeah, let's do some stuff.
The fact that he's saying that the producer wanted his money, and then because he wanted his money, that I'm not going to work with him, to me, that just makes Hit Boy look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's saying that the producer didn't want to work with him.
Oh,
he just wanted the money. He was like, "No, I don't want to." Because Hit Boy was trying to talk him into being like, "Look, man, we could work on some stuff, bro."
Gotcha.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he was like, "Nah, I want the bread."
Well, I guess, you know, I would have to see, I'll be honest, I need to see the conversation from the other person's point of view.
That's fair.
I need to hear what they're saying. To me, this is Hit Boy being lazy. Number one, he admitted guilt because he said he traded packs with Dom Kennedy. If you are trading packs, that means you are not purchasing packs. That means you are not buying the royalty-free packs. You are trading theft.
I didn't think about that.
That's what you're doing. And,
Pirating.
And most producers I know do that. So
I did not think about that
I'm
part.
not guilty here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From that perspective. But that's what that is, you know.
And he just added a Cody by saying he got it from Don Kennedy.
Or Dom Cannon.
Don Cannon. It was Don Cannon.
Yeah.
I'm tripping.
And
It was
also,
Don Cannon.
Don Cannon's like, hey.
Keep my name out this.
But also, you know, sometimes, you know, there's multiple layers of blame here, because this isn't necessarily just, sure, did Hit Boy drop the ball? Yeah. Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely, because he
100%.
should know that what he's going through. And believe me, we have talked to producers on the show that have had this conversation about Hit Boy specifically doing this.
Yep.
And, you know, on multiple records. And, you know, so from one perspective, yes, it would be better to, I think, if the relationship can be saved, cool. But if somebody has a history of doing stuff like this, then it's kind of like, or if they've done it multiple times, or if it's on multiple records, or, you know, multiple people that this person has done some stuff from, why would you want to do business with that person?
You know what stood out to me too is the fact that he mentioned, "I got the keys." So the producer that was reaching out must have been somewhat established.
Absolutely.
So he can also pay for the lawyers to come after him.
Yeah.
Because usually
The person doesn't have the money for the lawyers.
so Hit Boy, we're gonna use him as an example
Yeah.
because we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that everybody's not gonna be able to come get me.
Mhm.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
He knows that.
Yeah.
So he got burned because somebody actually had to paper the lawyer up and be like, "Nah, I want my money."
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
And
Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
at all. But I guess I'm thinking because there is a small portion of me that says percentage and relationship.
No, absolutely.
Because I know what that could yield
Yep.
moving forward. But
I almost want to ask you a very personal question about what you would do in a particular situation based upon some shit that's happened to you.
go ahead.
Do we want to do that?
I know what's what
Do you
you
want me to say names? I mean,
no,
like,
I mean, here's my thing with that, right?
Okay.
Here's my thing with that. I was so excited about everything that came with that, except for what I should have been focused on. That's youth. oh man, I went to the store, I copped it, I got the poster, I got the t-shirts, I got the credit, I can vouch for it. Everything is real. Yes, this is what we want. Yes. And then you pull back and you like, I really didn't get what I was supposed to get.
What about
situation?
What about
man.
the other situation?
Yeah, we're talking about when a certain sound was stolen.
Oh man. Oh,
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the one that I was.
yeah.
That's the one I figured.
Because you've never said anything publicly about that.
Oh, that's a classic. Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, that's a classic. So I was in Ice Standard Producers in Chicago. Rest in peace to my man Jay Hatch.
Yeah, rest in peace.
We got my man, he was one of our first winners, actually the first winner for Chicago ever. We had him come back and showcase his stuff. He got a new project coming out, but we call it Breakout. Y'all clap your hands for my dude, Major 7th, y'all. Let's go, clap hands for Major.
And I won that event.
Mm-hmm.
So there were executives there that we give them a CD. You know, I'll get back with you, man, if I hear anything.
Sure.
Right? And so time goes on, and I hear this record. I said, man, that sounds like something I had on that CD.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, no, I'll brush it off. It's cool. And I kept listening to it. I said, nah, it's too unique. I could pull up the old file. It's too unique. I know that that's what that is. And
Let them know what song that is.
Oh, it's Diamond Girl, for sure. Yeah. And Ryan Leslie, yeah.
Yep.
They stole that from me. Facts.
It's impossible.
But my thing was, I have zero power.
Yeah.
So I'm like the
And you don't have
person
the
I was
money
just
to go
talking.
get
I don't
the
have the
lawyer.
bread. I called one of my boys who was a lawyer. He was still in law school. He said, Mike.
Then he wasn't a lawyer.
Well, he was
So he's a lawyer now.
He was going to be.
He was going to be a lawyer, successful now, but I don't think he was ready yet. He said, Mike, I ain't going to hold you, man. He said, it's going to cost you, bro. I said, man, I ain't got it. He said, yeah. He said, this might be one of the ones that's just a lesson learned.
Or it'd be a situation where you find somebody, a lawyer that understands what could happen, and they be like, I'm going to take this pro bono because I know you
we
have
can
a
win.
case.
Exactly. I didn't have any connections like that,
Yeah.
so I didn't know.
The thing about Diamond Girl is it's such a unique record.
Yeah.
That's not
what you normally
It's not going to be
hear.
coincidence.
There's no coincidence there at all.
And I played it for him. He knows. He's
I've heard it in battles.
Yes. And I was like, yeah, that's me.
So break down the connection from who received the CD
Lenny S.
and how it got to the person.
Lenny S.
We're giving it up
whose
today,
name was
boy.
actually shout out on the song, right?
If I'm not mistaken, I can barely listen to that
Don't
record.
he say
man.
LES
No,
on there?
he says RLS.
Yes, RLS,
Yeah,
'cause
that's right.
yeah.
Ryan Leslie. Okay.
Yeah, I get mad when I hear it, so I never listen to that record. Shout out to Terry too. Terry was like, I never forget this, y'all. He said we was at Coach's. I think he wasn't spinning, but he was like, man. I told him the story. He was like, man, I don't even want to play that record no
I've
more,
never,
man.
ever since you
never
told me
heard you
that,
play that
I've
record.
never played that record.
I gotta give him his props. He was like, man, I can't even play that
Never
record no
played it
more,
again.
bro. But nah, man, that goes to show you that you have to be careful, man. It's sharks out here, bro. So if you want to hear something, you want to watch something or experience something that's your heart drops to your shoes, hear your idea on the record on the radio while you driving in the car. It will burn your soul.
You know what's crazy though? You might, cause don't music have different laws? Like if you catch on to it years later,
So the
can't
thing
you
is,
still come back and get
you
your?
can't technically. So if Mike still has a session, which I doubt he has,
I bet you I can find it.
you know,
Might be able to
On a
get
hard
paid
drive,
right
I bet
now.
you I can find it.
you know, like if there's video footage of him playing this beat in
Now
like
that I don't have.
in an I standard or something like that. Like if I happen to
Somebody
the recording,
probably got that video somewhere.
you know what I mean? Like because
Yeah.
it's too
Coincidental.
Too unique.
it's like
He know. Lone know. He knows.
You played it for me before.
I
though.
did.
Yeah.
I pulled up the session. Yep.
so
But I'm glad you asked. I've never told that story.
I didn't think you wanted to.
Yeah,
It's cool.
You do kind of make it like it's the boogeyman.
No,
Like,
it's
as
cool.
far as like you'll talk to us about it,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
but I
grown.
feel like you don't talk to. It's almost one of those sore spots in your career
It
that
is.
you don't like to mention.
Almost 500 episodes later, we're here giving it up.
because think about the butterfly effect here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine if Ryan Leslie's management or whomever, because you technically don't know what happened in that situation.
I have no idea.
right.
I have no idea.
Imagine if they did reach out to Mike. In the same when we talked to Il Brown. Imagine if Hit Boys people
Reached
or
out to-
Mad Libs people
Yeah.
reached out and reached back. Then that's a potential butterfly effect of a career
Because
trajectory in that time. Mike was
Absolutely.
winning battles. Mike
Yeah.
was doing the things.
Bro,
it is like
He was trending upward. He had songs with Freddie Gibbs.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
back then, it's like that's the percentage conversation that you
Yeah.
talk about. Or we're gonna throw you some change, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the change plus whatever the little credit is, and we're
Yeah.
gonna go from there.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Even though y'all whatever.
Yeah.
Just give me a little something, we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
But to get completely burned was painful, bro.
Nah,
that was
for sure.
painful, man. That was painful. But you live and you learn. You know, it is what it is. So take care of your shit.
Yeah.
Real talk. Take care of your shit.
They'll be out here trading packs
because they will take it and
Well,
run.
so that was the other piece that I was going to talk about too, because from one perspective, your situation is different than this Hit Boy situation. Because, I mean, there was very much a time where that was what you kind of had to do as a producer if you're trying to establish. You had to have these CDs. You know, even Jay Dill used to do this back in the day. Like producers did that.
Kanye West did this.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
whole
just
bunch of Kanye West beat tapes that wound up on the internet.
Yeah,
Facts.
it's like you would throw them to as many people as you can and hope that you get a hit. Hope that something stuck with somebody and that person had enough integrity that they would reach back for that particular thing. That's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and shouts to iStandard because that was supposed to be, and it was, in some regard, it was trying to connect up and coming music producers with that industry side.
Their intentions were good.
Yeah, the intentions were there. You know,
100%.
At the beginning.
two times.
From what I know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what happened afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, all respect due to Jay Hatch. I mean, you know, like he's a cool dude. Met him multiple times.
him and Don Dinopoli, those
Yeah.
are the two guys.
But from the other perspective, from the Hit Boy perspective, like the royalty free stuff is very interesting. Like you have to pay attention. This is what Jackson knows this. Who's sitting over there. I told him from the very early, when we first worked on your first project together, you had a copyright hit on a sample pack you used. And we had to go back. I had to make you go back in and rework that because it was his original beat. He was using an original sample or a royalty free sample, if you will. But somebody had already put that out and had already claimed the content ID on it.
There you go.
And so he had to rework that so he didn't run into any potential issues. And that's another side of this as well. It's like, you know, sample packs, you know.
I was actually going to ask one of y'all to explain to people how a sample pack works. Like, how can a producer use a sample pack without it being a situation to where, regardless of it being royalty free, that they don't get hit or dinged as far as
the thing is that different. It's not this like, I think the thing that a lot of producers don't quite understand is that it's not a blanket. Just because it exists on Splice or it exists in wherever you buy it from does not mean that the contract is same for every single one. Some people have 100% royalty free stuff. You can do whatever you want. Some other people have stuff to where like up until so many streams. Some other people have some, you can use this, but it can't be commercial, or you can't use Content ID with it. Il Brown's situation was interesting because he had an exclusive deal with Native Instruments.
Yep.
And what happened there was they resold those rights, I believe, and sold them to Splice and uploaded them somewhere else where I think Hit Boy most likely came and went and got them or something.
Got 'em from there,
Something like that. So it was like one of those type of situations to where, yes, Hit Boy is kind of in the wrong to some degree because, you know, but at the same time, you can also potentially chalk that up to just like ignorance and, you know, maybe he could have handled the situation better with the people's
I think
stuff.
that's the part.
But from the other perspective, to me, the person at fault is the corporation of either Native Instruments and or Splice that put Il Brown in the situation to be exploited and to not be able to make money from something that could be potentially career changing. And don't get me wrong, Il Brown is an amazing producer and he has credits. Like he's got the credits out there. Go look him up. But like there's levels to this shit. You know, like Mike's got credits. Mike's done stuff, but like there's levels to this shit as far as like being really, you know, working with a lot of these people and then that next level to where like it's, you know,
you break through the glass
exactly
ceiling,
like you have residuals on a regular basis and type of stuff. And so from that perspective, it's like, all right, cool. Well, if you want to try to combat that, you're going against a corporation. You're going against Native Instruments and Splice and Hit Boy and all this stuff. Man. And as somebody, you know, like, so it's kind of I don't know if there's a contract involved. I don't know. Maybe this particular producer that Hit Boy is talking about at this point in time had the paperwork.
You know what's crazy though? There's a part of that video where he talks about, I had to trim it down just for the sake of time. But there's a part of that video where he talks about, man, I got the loop and I loaded it up and I assigned it to pads and I chopped it up so it wasn't like the loop.
Yep.
Right. So he thought, I'm not taking the old boy's loop and just using the whole loop. I chopped it up and turned it into my own creation based off it being royalty free.
Sure.
Now, me looking at that situation, I'm like, okay, that should be cool.
Yeah,
that should be
sure.
clear. Like you did your own idea with it. You just didn't take it verbatim.
Yep.
To me, that's fine.
Yep.
But the fact that he still got burned off that, man, that's either a good lawyer or there's some paperwork or something that I'm missing.
Or it sounded too similar to what it originally sounded like.
Or he simply didn't clear the sample.
That's it.
You know, like it can be royalty free up to a point.
Up until a point,
you know, and sometimes producers do put the clause in there. It's like, you can use it up to a point, but I need credit. I need points. I need my publishing. I need X, Y. You know what I mean? And the music industry is a very interesting, hard to grasp industry. And if you don't have the right people around, then you're going to lose money, or you're going to lose opportunities, or you're going to get,
screwed.
That's why I do the stuff that I do.
So would that be considered, like we're talking about ghost writers? Are there ghost producers as far as I'm creating this sound and you're using it? I have a contract that states that you don't have to put my name on it.
Maybe.
But there's other, I'm saying, paperwork that says that you do have to.
It probably looks different now than it did.
Well, usually what happens is you look at it in the same way that you look at a session musician, right?
Yeah.
You can pay for this drummer to come in and play some stuff, and depending on that contract that you work with them, most likely, I always say you always get paid twice as a musician. You get paid from the actual recording of it, and you get paid from the intellectual property of the thing that you're creating.
So the back end.
No matter one. Well, they're both back end, but one is literally the physical recording of you recording something, and the other one is coming up with the idea. Yeah. And if you were the drummer that is coming up with the idea, and then you record it to something, when they pay you for that, they're paying for that recording. You still own that intellectual property of that of that drum, so you should retain your publishing, at least points of it.
So you can't keep using that same drum that I did on future songs unless I'm still getting paid for it.
Or more so, yes, because that's the recording, right? So again, like if it's just the recording of it, then you can use it for whatever that recording is, and I'll pay you $500 to come in here and record this. But what I always tell musicians and producers is like, look, you should always get paid from your publishing as well, because you came up with that. So yes, you're going to register, the song's going to go out, this person's going to put out, Hit Boy's going to put out this record with these drums from this person. He paid him $500. That person, that drummer no longer gets paid from any, typically what happens is that payment is so that the producer or the artist does not have to pay royalties for that. But you still have to pay for the intellectual property. That's where the publishing, that's where your ASCAPs and things of that thing comes. You should always retain your publishing if you make something.
So Clyde Stubblefield has gotten royally screwed.
Yes.
I'm talking about bad, bro.
For those of you who don't know, that
drummer
is,
loop, bro.
Yeah.
That, you know how many times I don't have to tell you. I don't have to tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that you think about where it has been.
It's literally the most used drum break of all time.
I would agree.
Say.
So technically, every time that they had to clear that sample from that, what song is that from?
Funky Drummer.
Is it from the
Funky Drummer?
Yeah. Okay, so every time that break is used, that recording of that break, that somebody chops that break up, that recording, whoever owns that, has to be cleared through them. So the Funky Drummer, if they use the drums, not only should Clyde be getting paid, but
he doesn't though.
Right, but that's James Brown too, right?
Yeah, that's James Brown.
But also every other producer on that record, also the record label, everybody that's a part of that particular recording is ownership of that, and so if Clyde was just paid out of cash for whatever that was,
as a session musician, and
didn't retain his publishing, his intellectual property of it, then that $500 stops there.
That's it. Damn.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why you always have to retain that publishing, because if it gets reused again, you can go back and get new money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And plus you own it. It's the same thing with the Taylor Swift stuff. That's why Taylor Swift recorded Taylor's
her stuff,
because she was the intellectual property owner. She made those songs. The record label owned the recordings, but she's like, well, I own I wrote the songs, so I can just record my versions and make double the money.
And that's what
Shanti was trying to do that same thing.
you see. There's a lot. Look, they Salt and Peppers re-recorded a lot of their records
As they should.
Without
spin. Oh, that's messed up.
Well,
but,
I don't know about that.
But there are newer artists like what was the guy who did the song "Take You to Bed"?
Jay Holiday.
Jay Holiday.
Yeah,
Well, that was written by The Dream.
He re-recorded that. Alexander O'Neal is re-recorded, but the thing is, your voice changes as you age.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just kind of crazy. Where it's like,
But if The Dream wrote it,
he did write it.
and he gets paid for both versions.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even when you hear the song,
It's like a cover.
That's definitely The Dream.
It's like a cover. It's like a cover.
It's treated similarly to a cover.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yeah, interesting facts.
Yeah, man. Well,
But yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence halfway and halfway with Hit Boy here. I think he should operate and do better business. And I think him being who he is, I think he should probably have better practices, and especially to protect himself. And maybe he does now.
I think this record what's crazy is this record was a while back, and it kind of goes to the timeline of what we talked about with
like Ills and all
Ills,
that
because it's very similar. And that's the first thing I thought about when I saw
it was 2 Nas records, right?
No, this one, the one he's talking about was a
These
Rihanna
are
record.
Rihanna.
But
That was her whole album, Anti,
No.
which was very successful. He's talking about Il Brown.
Il
Brown was
situation.
Madlib and Freddie Gibbs.
But the other one was Nas and Hit Boy.
Yes.
And I think there was another. I think there were 2 Nas and Hit Boy records.
I think he said he had 2 joints, 2 things that were used on what's the timeline? Bandana? Would it have been Bandana?
No. So he has his drum loop for Half Man, Half Cocaine.
That's what it is. Okay, yeah.
The trap drums. That's Il Brown's drum.
Yep, that's his. Yep.
Which, if you listen to that the first time, you're like, these don't sound like Madlib drums because
At
they're
all.
not.
They're not.
You know.
And I know Il Brown's drum.
He didn't get credit from that one either.
Yep.
Nope.
He did or
No, he
didn't?
did
He did not.
So that's why I mean, like,
Oh, game.
throw the solid out there. You know, like you can't advocate for artists and then be an artist and then see a situation where an artist is kind of getting exploited, even if it's you, and then still go again. Like you should be like, damn, I messed up.
Yeah.
Let me do the solid here. And regardless if the person's upset, because Hill Brown was definitely upset.
As
We
he
talked
should have
about-
been.
And
I
as he should
remember.
be. You
Yeah.
know, like I would be upset too.
Yeah.
And so would you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got horror. Listen, we got horror stories out here, man. Moral of the story: take care of your business.
Yeah.
Because there's sharks out here. Period.
To the best of your ability.
To the
Because
best of your ability.
Like you talk about an ill situation, it was a matter of him per se. His music was with, or his drum packs was with a certain company, and that company
Facts.
got sold.
They dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Or
so-
something. I don't
or
know.
something happened.
I
Something
don't know
happened.
exactly what happened with the rights to that, but
Yeah. But trust me, we've been there. We've all been there. And yeah, hopefully these stories will help somebody. Pay attention, because it's probably 10 times easier to do this stuff now. So
That's
yeah.
why a lot of producers too no longer even put any of their beats online, simply because somebody else can take it, and now you got AI
AI's making
that
it
can
worse.
take it, and now they're
Program
training
it.
the system
Yep.
to be you essentially.
and that's 10 times like that right there. It's one thing to take a sample or from whatever website you want to choose, and then do your own, what's the word, long interpolation. Is that
Yep.
interpolation of it? And then cool, it's yours, and then you make it move. That's one thing. But the AI part, taking your original joint, running it through that. Remember we were talking about that, a couple weeks ago?
Mhm.
Where you were like, nah, I ain't going.
Yeah, I don't want that.
That right there, after watching some videos on it and seeing how easy it is to regenerate, that's damn near scary, bro. That's spooky, man.
Yeah.
That's me put into a computer, and it's like, this is what you sound like with all of the world around you.
Yeah.
That ain't it. That's not it.
And it's not it because of the exploitative nature of what it takes for AI to even come up with that stuff.
part.
Because I
That
never
part.
paid it. Hey man, I'm happy I got 3 of my students signed up on ASCAP this year.
Good. That's where
So-
they need to be.
I need to get Jackson signed up.
You definitely need it. No,
But-
the reason he needs it is because Jackson can make dope original music. Like,
Sure.
you definitely need to register yours.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, I went out of my way to make sure that they, because I had multiple students working on actual projects for their semester, and I was like, you know what? Most times producers skip the publishing piece.
Mhm.
We're not going to do that. We're going to register that. We're going to learn about this stuff. You know, it wasn't even part of the curriculum. But
Look
it's
at Lone,
like,
look at Lone out here kicking the truth to the young black youth. We appreciate that. I just wanted to use that bar.
Some
I'm
of
sorry.
them are black.
Thank you for giving back to the community. All right, man. Is there anything else that I need before we need to do before we get out of here?
I think that'll do it.
Is that
That'll
gonna do
do
it?
it.
I think we on time. I think we about right. We ran over a little bit, but that's cool.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. All right, man.
Let's do it, Gobo.
No giggles. The last one before you grown.
Gigglesworth.
Bye, everybody.
It's the last time you're going to see Jackson before he's 21.
Before he's 21.
He's gonna have a full grown beard and
Wolverine.
chest hair next.
That's his new name.
Correct.
It's gonna come in next week and just smack Mike. Oh,
Yeah.
GP.
I'm gonna take it too.
I think we should get that on video.
You know what I'm saying? Gator ain't taking no shit.
I'm gonna take it too. NewOldHeads.com for all the education you need this year. If you see it, like it, subscribe. Don't forget to hit any bell for notifications. Give us 5-star ratings. And also remember to check out our Patreon where you can get full unedited episodes. That's where all the good stuff happens. We appreciate your support and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Yeah.